Welcome to the Week 10 edition of the 757 Preps Peninsula District Football Pick Show. I'm Perez Thomas. I'm with Jason Kidd as always. You're looking at the 10-0 757 Preps team of last week, although the games really weren't that hard to pick except for, pretty much the Hampton Kickatan game.
Yeah, it was some unbalanced matchups. And then Hampton's defense led them to a shutout over Kickatan, so yeah, we went unbeaten. That's nothing new for me.
Oh, okay. Don't forget, I'm only a game back, and we got a tougher week this week.
We definitely do. I look forward to this week, that's for sure.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and move into the recap of last week's games, and we'll go ahead and start with the game of the week from last week between the Hampton Crabbers and Kickatan Warriors, where Hampton came out with the victory, 14-0, behind a stout defense. All you could say is Dion Newsom and company. They played well on, in the secondary and on the defensive end of the ball.
Well, Dion Newsom obviously changed the game. Kickatan threw one pass. He intercepted it, ran into the house, and they didn't throw no more the rest of the game. So it made it easy for Hampton's defense to stack the box up and stop Cannon and Adrian Pope.
Yeah, Kickatan was just so one-dimensional. It made it very easy on Hampton's D, but as you can see, Kickatan's defense is tough enough to keep them in ball games.
Absolutely.
They just didn't have enough O.
I think they have the Defensive Player of the Year in the Peninsula District in Devin Claiborne.
Definitely. He's played solid all year. We'll go ahead and move into the Peninsula District leading Woodside Wolverines versus Denbigh. And, there's really not much to say about this one. 39-0. Too much Woodside, not enough Denbigh. I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. How about that guy, Drayton Murphy? 4 carries, 110 yards, 26 yards a carry. You can't beat that.
Yeah, I was going to say, how about that yard per carry average?
Yeah.
That's pretty explosive. We'll move into another, game where you're like, that's expected, big deal, between Phoebus and Gloucester. Phoebus won 42-7. Now, the score shows, complete domination, but Phoebus didn't, they didn't really look like Phoebus. They won, and they won, by dominating, but they still looked like they're still a little hungover from the Woodside game.
Well, they were missing some key players. Eric Anderson was out with a groin injury, so that takes away their starting quarterback and their deadly punter and kicker, He pins offenses back, giving up, making them have to drive the whole field opposed to cutting the field in half. And that's, he adds that dimension. Seth Roby didn't play, he's an outside linebacker and tight end. They were missing some pieces. Tyler Adams stepped in, did an admirable job for a backup. He was 4 of 10, 92 yards, found Ramon DeLoach 3 times for 86 yards and a touchdown. But he overthrew some passes, but, it's his first career start. And if he has to step in and fill the shoes this week against Hampton, I think Phoebus is going to miss Anderson's punting more than the quarterback ability.
Honestly, at Phoebus, you hand the ball off a lot anyway. There's not too much to pass in games. So I think, if anything, he adds a dimension that he can, run the option a little bit. So, we shall see. But, like I said, that game was expected. So.
Right. Definitely.
All right, we'll move into the Warwick Heritage game, which for one half looked like it could be an upset in the making. And then, at a snap of a finger, Warwick's up 20-something points. I'm trying to tweet all the scores out, and I can't keep up because they've scored 2-3 times in a minute.
They scored 36 points in the second half. They were putting them up quick.
A little bit. So, we shall see. But, like I said, that game was expected. So.
Right. Definitely.
All right, we'll move into the Warwick Heritage game, which for one half looked like it could be an upset in the making. And then, at a snap of a finger, Warwick's up 20-something points. I'm trying to tweet all the scores out, and I can't keep up because they've scored 2-3 times in a minute.
They scored 36 points in the second half. They were putting them up quick. Antoine Bethel with a 85, 86 yard kickoff punt return. then he has an interception. He takes it to the 2-yard line, and Warwick scores on the next play. I mean, they put the numbers up quick.
That they did.
You know, Heritage was looking for their first signature win. They started off great, but they just didn't have enough to sustain that in the second half.
Yeah, Heritage is still learning how to win, but, you know, just the fact that they can show you, you know, in one half, you know, they're going to compete, and they're showing you that they're up and coming. I mean, they may not win the district in the next, you know, couple years, but they're going to be a team to be reckoned with, you know.
Definitely.
So, but Warwick did dominate the second half, and that was a big win for them, you know, headed toward these playoffs, you know, get a couple wins, headed in, and get their confidence back up after a subpar 2 weeks before.
Definitely. They're getting back on the right track.
All right, and then we'll go ahead and move into the last game of the week, which was on Saturday in the Ice Bowl, or what felt like the Ice Bowl. It was freezing out there. I mean, I guess it was probably 40 out there, but with the wind chill, it had to feel like 20. It was Bethel beating Menchville 31-0. The score says, you know, it was a ugly game, and to be quite honest, it was an ugly game. The pass and attack from Bethel was, you know, not where we're used to seeing it at all. And if they want to do anything as far as this week against Woodside and moving forward in the playoffs, they're going to have to get that back in line quick. I saw Proctor went down at the end of the game. Hopefully that's not too serious. Hopefully he'll be back this week. But, I mean, Menchville didn't have much to offer. I think they had, like, less than 50 total yards. So Bethel's D did their job. The offense was a little sluggish, but they got the job done on the ground.
Hey, well, that's a good thing for the Bruins because, you know, looking at their team, you look at a weakness and you might consider their running game. Well, they had 10 different guys get a carry against Menchville. Had Frank Brown lead the team with 153 yards on the ground. You know, his passing game wasn't there. He said, you know, after the game, he said for some reason things were just off, but he made up for it on his feet. And when you got somebody that can improvise and do that, you're going to be dangerous. And the Bruins, yeah, they got a tough game this week, but we'll talk about that later.
Definitely. And we'll go ahead and move into this week. We'll go ahead and start off with the Heritage Hurricanes playing Friday night at Todd against the Denbigh Patriots. I look for Heritage to get a W here. I think Abdullah's probably going to be primed for a big game. Denbigh's defense has struggled all year. I'm picking Heritage 21-7.
Well, yeah, Denbigh's coming in looking for their first win of the season. You know, they don't want to go 0-10. They haven't done that since 2003, and they haven't done it under Coach Marcellus Harris's ship. So, I mean, I think this game is going to be close. Denbigh, they have given up the most rushing yards more than any other team in the district. And Heritage, they're a physical team. They like to pound it with Abdullah. I'm going to go with the Heritage Hurricanes 26-20 in a relatively high-scoring game.
Definitely, yeah, for those two, I'd say. So, we'll go ahead and move into the next game between the Warwick Raiders and the Gloucester Dukes. This one will be played in Gloucester Friday night. With this one, you know, I don't see much of a game. I think Warwick's going to go ahead and cruise into the playoffs, feeling high and mighty after, you know, beating Heritage last week. I think they'll go ahead and dispose of Gloucester 35-7. I look for, you know, Butler, Carden Johnson, Poindexter, and the emerging DeAndre Bethea to do big things this week. I'm going Warwick 35-7.
Yeah, I like Carden Johnson in this game. Gloucester's had a hard time stopping fast running backs on the edges. I like Johnson. He needs 133 yards to break 1,000 this year. Hasn't been many Peninsula District backs making that threat this season. You know, only 3 are really within striking distance going into this final week. And I like Johnson to do it. I like the Raiders to win 43-12.
Okay.
They're going to win 2 straight, heading into the playoffs, and that's the direction they need to be moving.
Definitely. That'll bring us to the Saturday matchup between Kickingham and Menchville. And I don't think there's too much to talk about with this one. I don't think Menchville scored a touchdown in like 5 months. I'm just joking, but it's been a while.
Since October 2nd. Yeah. Right? Lost to Gloucester.
It's been a while. I think Kickinham's defense, If I haven't said it before, I'll say it again. I think they might be the toughest front four in the district, and the defense as a whole has got to be at least a top 2, top 3 unit. I don't see Menchville scoring anything unless it's a 68-yard field goal from Dylan Christopher. But I'm going Kickintan 28-0. Kickintan's offense isn't very explosive. They do everything on the ground. I mean, I don't see him going for 40+, but hey, it could happen. 28-0 though.
I like Kickintan in this one as well. Trent Cannon enters the game a little over 100 yards. He needs to get 1,000. I like him to do that. I like Pope to break 100 in this game as well. I like the Warriors to win this 31-0. 31-0
it is. And then we're going to move into a pretty solid matchup, which in any other week would probably be our game of the week. But we've got a classic matchup that's got to be the game of the week for this week. So before that, we'll go ahead and talk about this Thursday night matchup, which is great. I love Thursday night games because we get more PD coverage for you all. And that's going to be between the #1 Woodside Wolverines and the Bethel Bruins, who are trying to, if they can get a W, they can slide up in the rankings. But if they lose this one, they might turn around and have to face Woodside again.
Well, I mean, this is going to be a tough game. Woodside has played 5 games decided by 7 points or less. They beat Kickintan by 1. Bethel needs this game. If Bethel wins this game, they could play Woodside again next week. They'll be the #6, more than likely. Woodside will be the #3. If Woodside wins and Bethel loses, they might fall to #7, and Woodside could be a #2, and they could play again. This is an intriguing matchup, and that kind of concerns me, because if you're going to be playing the same team next week in a game that means more than what it does this week, you're going to hold some things back that you don't want to do. Mm-hmm. So I like the Woodside Wolverines in a close one. I say 21-20.
Okay. I think if Bethel comes out and plays the way they did this past weekend, then it's going to be a long night Thursday night. Because if Bethel's not throwing the ball well against a Woodside defense, they're certainly not going to run against Woodside's D. And you can ask Phoebus all about that. Woodside's linebackers are the real deal. You don't get much after contact. And honestly, I think Woodside, their defense is a little underrated. I don't think people give them as much credit as they deserve. I mean, not to mention you got your buddy Donnell Lewis back there roaming the field. And I just think if Bethel passes the way they did last weekend, I can see Donnell Lewis with a couple picks, because Menchville probably dropped at least 3 interceptions on Saturday.
Yeah, they did.
So, I mean, I'm still calling it a close game, because Bethel is a solid ball team, don't get me wrong. But Woodside is the king of the hill right now. I'm going Woodside 24-17 in a close one. But like I said, I think it's too much Donnell Lewis, and Bethel really needs it. They've got to get that passing game on track and ready to go for the playoffs, because they're going to run into, if not Woodside in the first round, probably a high-scoring Beach team. And the Beach teams put up points, so Woodside's going to need to get that offense flowing and running.
Definitely.
And then that brings us to the classic, if not the game of the week, the game of the year, every year. Probably the only game that sells out Darling every year. And that's between the Hampton Crabbers and the defending 3-time champ, Phoebus Phantoms.
What an intriguing matchup we have this week. But this is what's up with this game. You have a couple injuries on both sides of the field. Kayvon Bellamy went out with a twisted ankle. Some say it's more serious than what it appears to be. And he'll probably be held out of this game. I mean, nobody's told me that. I'm just going on assumption, based because the playoffs are next week and both these teams are in it. And on the other side of the ball, you got Eric Anderson, who has a groin injury, whatnot. Stan Sexton said after last game he's expected to play, but he's not sure. If he can't go, and Kayvon Bellamy can't go, you got it's kind of an even trade-off, you know. And if that's the case, I like the Crabbers this week.
Okay.
These guys have been playing excellent football the past 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, they're peaking at the right time. I like them to win a close one, 13-7. I think they're just going to stack the box, and Phoebus is going to have a hard time passing with that Hampton secondary.
Definitely. This is one of those games you kind of flip a coin, but I mean, to me, and I agree with you 100%, that Hampton right now is playing the better football. The last 3, 4, 5 weeks, Hampton, hands down, to me, has been the best team in the district. Even if Woodside did beat Phoebus, Hampton has been playing the best football of late. But, on the other hand, you've got this Phoebus team who's so accustomed to winning, so accustomed to big games, and they're still a little upset about losing to Woodside and ending that streak. I don't know, Anderson, I think, like you said earlier on the show, I think him being gone out of the kicking game hurts them more than the offense necessarily. I think, Tyler Adams can do some different things as far as the option and moving around. And he can also make, some of the throws, just needs to settle down. I think him getting his first start in was a good thing for him. Get a little experience working with the ones and whatnot. And, I agree, Hampton's probably going to stack the box and say, hey, if you're going to beat us, throw it. So, I think the game will be, the tempo will be set early. It depends a whole lot on who makes the right plays early and jumps out. But in this one, I'm going Phoebus. I think, the leaders on Phoebus, it's senior night. It's not, I don't know if it's technically Phoebus home or Hampton home, but it's their last game regular season at Darling. I think they're going to want to make a statement. They're not used to losing. They don't like losing, especially not to Hampton. I think Phoebus brings it home 17-14 on a late field goal, whether it be Anderson or the backup from 30-something yards out. I'm going Phoebus 17-14 on what could be a potential Eastern Region final matchup.
Definitely so. I agree with you. I mean, this is a tough game to call.
Yeah. And I felt my phone buzzing. That might be Mike Smith texting me, telling me, what am I doing? You're betting against my boys right now. We're playing our best football we've played since Tyrod's been here, But, hey, I got to go with Phoebus on this one. They've only done me wrong once this year. I got to go with them, go with their senior leadership. So that wraps up this week's show. Again, both of us 5-0. You're getting accustomed to it. I gotta bask in this one a little bit.
23-2. 5 weeks.
But I'm Perez Thomas. This is Jason Kidd. As always, be sure to check out Facebook.com. Give us a like. Facebook.com/757preps. Check out our pictures. Tag your friends. Tag yourself. Leave comments on the stories. We post the videos up there as well. Also, be sure to check out our YouTube. YouTube.com/757preps. Again, we post tons of video. We try and post as much video as possible. That way, you can see yourself doing your thing, see your buddies getting their thing on, and just peep out the competition if that's what you want to do.
Definitely. Make sure you check us out next week. We'll have our all Peninsula District first team selection from 757 Preps to go along with game recaps from week 10 and the playoffs starting next week.
And also, don't forget to check our Twitter. I try and keep up with it as best as possible, except for, like I said, when Warwick's putting up 30 points in 2 minutes, it's tough to get my fingers going as quick as the points were going up. But also be sure to check us out on Twitter at 757preps. Like to wish all the teams good luck this week. Everybody stay healthy, get ready for the playoffs. Anything you want to add?
5 teams in the PD locked up playoff spots last week, and the other 5 don't have a chance to make it. So we playoffs are basically set.
Definitely. All they're working on now is seeding and who's playing where, pretty much. So for Jason Kidd, I'm Perez Thomas. Thanks for all your support, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Have a good weekend.